Good morning, good evening, and keep it tight. Welcome to Liquidmatrix Security Digest Hacker Radio Podcast.
Episode 7, E as in Echo.
Here with me, right out of the gate, I blow it. Well, here today with myself, Dave Lewis, Matt Johansson, and James Arlen on the Wheels of Steel. I should point out that this show does not represent the thoughts, intentions, plans, or strategies for world domination of our employers, ex-girlfriends, wives, one and the same at times, belly button lint, or the militant wing of the Girl Guides. I think we need to make t-shirts where getting artwork sent into us. It is solely our personal opinions. We make no guarantees. There, almost made it. We make no guarantees the accuracy, validity, sobriety, relevance, or importance of anything we say or do here.
We're back. It's Liquidmatrix Security Digest. There. You've had the entire Dave experience. Some new stuff this week. We're going to talk about breaches because they happen. There's almost like the opposite of a DERP that I really want to talk about because I think it's worth talking about. Got a fantastic mailbag entry from a listener. I've got it briefly. Matt doesn't.
I'll
otherwise, oh, you will? Okay. You do remember how to use the okay, awesome. So, Matt, how's it been? We haven't talked to each other in like a whole week.
Yeah, we're like doing this thing. I was about to write my newsletter when you texted and we're like, are we still doing this podcast thing? And I was like, oh yeah, we do a podcast every week now. So I was already in the news brain, so I'm ready. I am ready. I came loaded with news. I am like oozing news. And
that's between you and the Lord, friend.
Yeah. I got to call my doctor. That my news lasted more than 4 hours. So Dave's not here, so I assume this episode is brought to you by the militant wing of the Girl Guide. Is that?
Well, actually, I'm fairly certain that there's some sort of altercation with the militant wing, and that's where Dave is.
Oh, Dave. Okay. So yeah, Dave stopped responding to text messages, so we went rogue and recorded without him in case you're hearing this. Should I kick off the news, Jake?
Yes, I think you should. Tell us a story about insider threat.
Okay, so this is outsider became an insider. We're going to talk a lot about North Korea today for some reason. They're in the news. They're in the news. So, a U.S.-based cybersecurity company called KnowBe4 specializes in cybersecurity training. Right?
Yep.
I think
That's
phishing training.
Ethics company.
Yes, the late great Kevin, old company, and specialize in phishing and social engineering training, I believe, right? And so they put out a great post this week that's very transparent. I'm going to give them a lot of kudos up front because the story might sound like we're beating up on them, but we're not. They accidentally hired a North Korean spy back in June. And so, they did not catch it during the hiring process. They did catch it once they mailed them a laptop. And the first thing that the person did with this laptop was start loading on malware, InfoStealer malware.
Well, if you're going to be obvious about it, then you're, well, no, actually, you're not going to get caught almost everywhere because people aren't actually paying attention to that.
And this is why I'm giving kudos to KnowBe4, and it's not a beat up part of the story. Because I have worked at plenty of companies, probably their size, that do just mail the MacBook Pro and sayonara, have fun with the MacBook Pro. Is kind of the end of the IT process, right? So kudos that they actually have a SOC and endpoint detections that like lit up when this happened. Okay, so backing up a little bit, how did this happen in the hiring process? Turns out this person was a North Korean threat actor using a stolen identity. Used that stolen identity to pass a background check. There was a background check, but that identity was clean and passed the background check. Then, in all of the video interviews, used an AI deepfake of that person's face from the stolen identity to appear as that person.
That's like right out of Johnny Mnemonic. Like, that's a 90s sci-fi trope cyberpunk thing. Remember the little hand puppet?
Well,
You don't
one of
remember because you've
my
probably never seen this fantastic movie, but yes.
the
Shit.
1900s. The 1900s. Yeah, I was there. Um, one of my favorite quotes that I say a lot and no one ever catches from me is peaches. I could eat a peach for hours. And that reminds me of this. If you know that quote, it's from the classic best actor of all time Nick Cage movie Face Off, where
Yep.
since they didn't have AI deepfakes back then, they
Oh
of
no, they had to
course
peel.
yeah, went the next easiest route of surgically implanting each other's face on each other between Nick Cage and John Travolta, I believe, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So face off 90s sci-fi tropes aside, this is legitimately happening. We heard some stories about this this past summer when some of the AI deepfake stuff was starting to get more popular. We heard a
Yeah.
story out of like a crypto company that someone used an AI deepfake video call to like trick uh like an accounts receivable person to like send some money. They like pretended to be the CFO of some company and like send some money. There was some questionable um sources around that story, and no one was really sure if it actually happened, and it was like a Chinese company, and we didn't get a lot of info. No, before we're getting a lot of transparent info about what happened out of this. So this legitimately happened, right? They
Well,
hired
and
this
I think
person.
yeah, it's really important that the sort of the message get out to the masses that simultaneously you need to be able to trust that what you're looking at is what you're looking at, and at the same time this stuff is better than you think it is. And I'll use, Jackie and I watch a lot of garbage TV, and one of my current favorites right now is Big Brother. I don't know if you watch it. It's terrible television. Don't watch it. But this particular season, there's an AI participant, and I shit you not, it is the crappiest animation. Like a NVIDIA, 650 would put out higher quality real-time animation than what they're showing on the screen on this national international broadcast. And so like I think people have got it fixed in their head that deepfake looks like a deepfake. Like the mouth doesn't move right, or it's chonky, and the mocap is all weird. And the reality is it's crystal clean. I know it wasn't done in real time, but did you see the Whitney Houston Arnold Schwarzenegger deepfake?
No, no.
Yeah. So picture Whitney Houston with curly hair. I want to dance with Arnold Schwarzenegger's face and voice.
Very nice, very nice. Well,
No,
yeah.
it was.
Hey, I mean, this seems like the tip of the iceberg of something that we're going to be dealing with for a very long time, because this tech is only going to get better. And it's only going to get cheaper. And so when it gets better and cheaper, more people are with scrupulous morals are going to have access to it.
Uh-huh.
I'm bracing for impact for the day that a convincing enough version of this of a politician or of something that moves the stock market in a significant way
Yep.
happens. Right
Yep.
now that's all been kind of relegated to meme area, except for these few corporate, trick people in social engineering reports that we're hearing. But I don't think that that's going to last for long, right? So
And it's
obviously,
it's it's one of those things that where I'm more of a pessimist than I actually am, I would say is imminent within the next
yeah, same.
4 months.
Yeah, same. And honestly, it's hard to tell what's the news cycle moves so fast. It's hard to tell what's real enough today without this. So it's just like we're adding stuff to it. So anyway, kudos to Know Before for having your SOC set up these alerts to know the malware. This
Yeah.
report is super transparent and good. Go read the report in the show notes. They talk a lot about what they spotted and like the actual operations that as they could tell were going on. The SOC and IT department started reaching out to this person to like question what was going on. There was some excuses and pushback right away. And then all communication stopped from this new employee, just evaporated. They did some digging. It turns out the laptop was actually running in a laptop mule farm. So we're starting to find these where residential addresses. I've seen pictures of people's like, you know, grandma's coat closet is filled with laptops standing on a triangle, so they're open with
Mhm.
fans pointing at it, and people are VPNing into these things so that it looks like their traffic is coming from a residential address in Albuquerque, and they're actually
I
overseas.
I saw an ad on a YouTube video. I'll have to find out what the name of the company was and put it in the show notes. But there's a peer-to-peer VPN. Remember we talked about the geolocation feature of VPNs being the only thing that you really actually want. There's now a peer-to-peer version of that. So you're just coming out of somebody's.
Yep.
It wouldn't surprise me if
Yep.
it was actually Tor, but essentially you're coming out of an exit node somewhere.
And if you're
And
listening to this and you don't know why, it's because data center IP spaces are actually easy to figure out. So corporate logins can just block swaths of data center IPs. So it's not like you're in China, you can just get like an AWS box to like tunnel through, because like corporate SSO tunnels will be like, well, that's AWS, that's weird, right? And
yeah,
so it's much harder to figure out if you're coming from like, 123 side street in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that looks kind of legit and whatever, right? And so this is all treated very differently. So
it's
kudos
always
to that.
Albuquerque.
Well, yeah, one of the I'm channeling Bugs Bunny. One of the suggestions that KnowBe4 had on this, which I liked, and I haven't heard of this suggestion before, and so
Okay.
I made a video about this on my page, and I hadn't heard this before. They suggested, and that this is what they're going to implement, is all new employees go into a sandbox at
Mhm.
first, and so they don't get access to the corporate code, Slack, email, whatever. They go into a sandbox for
Right.
some period of time until there's probably some additional verification, because it seemed like this threat actor got access and they were like, oh crap, we better use this access, we don't know when we're going to lose it, right? And so they then even after going through all the HR and hiring, they still acted like a traditional threat actor and just like jumped on it, right? Which is kind of the MO of when these people get initial access, they just start doing stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those, if you'd not jumped on it immediately, if you just decided to treat it as you're in it for the long haul, they could have gotten somewhere.
Yeah. If they slow rolled it, they could have gotten something. I don't know what their motives were in trying to target KnowBe4. Probably trying to access KnowBe4's customers, because I don't think KnowBe4 is probably all that valuable for them.
No, but part of the Know Before product set includes integrations with things like your work, Google Workplace. So
Yep.
there's customer credentials in
Yep.
Know Before that would be valuable to have.
Yep. So, and it looked like the malware that they loaded up were honestly just trying to steal if that laptop had been recycled to a previous employee, or if the IT worker who set up the laptop had
Right.
like sessions or anything. And so that's what it looked like the malware was like trying to do right away. It was like, hey, has anyone used this laptop? Because it was a fresh laptop that they just mailed this new employee. So they were just
Right.
saying like, oh, let's see what we can grab off of this. Kind of weird, right? Overall, kind of weird behavior by the threat actor. They did the
Hmm.
hard part. They did the really hard part right, and then it seems like
That's not the
they
easy
kind of
part.
mudged it on the other stuff, which is lucky for KnowBe4 and any of their other
Yeah.
potential victims.
Well,
Um,
and lucky for all the rest of us that are trying to defend against this sort of thing, now we've got one more, you know, level of insight into what a threat actor might try to do.
yep. Okay. Can I move on to the next story that is related, and then we'll leave
Sure.
this topic overall. So to go out of order in our show notes a bit, like I said, North Korea is in the news this week. So Mandiant, and I guess now Google Mandiant. I've never said that out loud before. Um,
Googie
uh,
hint.
um, so Mandiant put out a report on the newly dubbed APT 45, which is their tracking mechanism for the North Korean threat actor group.
Right.
Obviously, threat actor attribution is really hard. So some other people have talked about this group as Andariel and Silent Colima. I don't know. How do you say that? I don't know if I said that right. And then I was doing some digging because I thought the North Korean, I knew the North Korean threat actor group as Lazarus, but none of the news stories were saying that. But it does look like we're all talking about the same people, or at least subsets of North Korean government funded hacking groups, right? So, well, obviously, right? North Korean, their citizens don't have the internet, right? So, if they're hacking groups, they're
Yeah,
tied to the
it's
government,
government. Yeah.
and it's all tied together. So anyway, APT 45, new report out of Mandiant. Mandiant honestly puts out some really, really good threat actor reports,
Mm-hmm.
especially when talking about the indicators of compromise or the TTP, like the profile of these threat actors or anything like that. Mandiant is one of the gold standards in this because they are the people that everyone calls when they get hacked. So they have all of the, hey, shit went down. We now have the data of all the shit that went down, right, across all of their customers. So
And they see multiple shit going down at the same time, and they can internally correlate.
They obviously can't talk to that customer and be like, hey, we're seeing this also, this other thing, right? But they know, right? And so they put out some of these reports that give us a bit of a glimpse behind the curtain of Oz here. And this was really good. The reason why I wanted to talk about this one, obviously I was talking about North Korea in the first segment. So I thought it was a good jump off. But the other thing that is really, really interesting here to me is Lazarus and North Korea stole an obscene amount of cryptocurrency in the last few years, right? That was their MO. Their MO was hack like large crypto exchanges, funnel the crypto to their wallets, and like that's it, evaporate into the ether. And this is like what crypto is designed for. And they can go and liquidate it, they can liquidate it with their Chinese friends or their Russian friends or whoever they're liquidating it with. And there's been reports that they're using these crypto thefts to fund their like military operations. And that's why it was such a target for them, right? It's an interesting threat actor profile because obviously it's like dictator says jump, they say how high. There is no like moral quandary, legal quandary. There's no like FBI to worry about. There's nothing to worry about, right? Like it's just the one,
and it's completely indoctrinated, like it's societal.
Yeah, and it's just the one guy, right, that says I need this, and then it just happens, right? So like a quote from this article: when Kim Jong-un demands better missiles, there are guys who steal blueprints for him, like period, right? So APT 45 is not bound by any ethical considerations. This is right from the report. Super interesting. The other interesting bit, so it seems like they are switching tactics. So they were like very targeted on crypto and all of that. And it seems like they are dipping into ransomware and other means of like financially motivated crimes. So
because we needed them.
Yeah, like we needed that. So yeah, up until now, they were mostly doing cyber espionage campaigns, steal the blueprints, military stuff, mostly against South Korea, their sworn enemy. And then financial was mostly crypto. It seems like they're getting more into ransomware of critical infrastructure in India has been an example. And then hospitals, which are just the ransomware punching bag du jour, as we know, and we've talked heavily about, right? I'm worried about this. I think we're gonna be wind up talking. If they're getting into ransomware, we're gonna be talking more about them and ransomware. Up until now, a lot of the ransomware groups have been, let's say, nation state aided or abetted, but not necessarily nation states, right? The ransomware groups aren't equivalent to the government.
They're organized crime. They're
yes,
digital mafia.
yes,
right?
Aided and abetted by certain governments who don't mind if a hospital goes offline in the UK or the US. There are some governments that wouldn't mind that, so they look the other way or they fund when possible. But it's not a one-to-one correlation with those groups. This is a one-to-one correlation with a nation state who's now getting into ransomware. It's one of the first times that we've seen that, because they are just trying, because they're sanctioned from all Western governments. So this is the money lever that they're seeing to pull, right? Is like, let's hack crypto exchanges, and now let's do ransomware to get money, since we can't do anything else. So I'm obviously a bit worried about this one.
Yeah, I think the one thing that just popped into my head is that India's critical infrastructure includes a non-trivial number of nuclear plants. And we know how North Korea feels about nuclear aspirations. So, yay. And the nuclear plants that India has are the Canadian design, so they can be used as breeders. So that's fun. Let's go to something that's a little more happy sunshine than all of this doom and gloom you bring upon us, young Matthew.
Sorry, not sorry.
I know. So I'm sure by this point in your life, you've walked away from a deal that was looking pretty sweet, and you're just like, yeah, nah, I'm out. Yeah.
Oh
No, you haven't.
None that involve the letter B.
Okay. Well, in this case, we are talking about the letter B. We're talking about 23B. Wiz walked away from an acquisition deal with Google that was worth $23 billion with a B dollars. There's a part of me that would be cranky if I was an employee, especially if I've been there for a while, because it's like, I could have retired, you bastard. At the same time, kind of impressed with Wiz. They want to do their thing. They don't want to get consumed by the machine. They are going to go for IPO, and they're going to keep building the company the way they think they should be building the company. And if they've built it to the point where Google thinks it's worth $23 billion, they're doing something right. And it's one of those stories where the backseat driver / armchair quarterback crowd is launching all over this one. So the story I linked to is from CNBC, because this is the place where like mainstream news, people who trade on the stock exchange kind of people who have money are paying attention to news. This isn't like industry news like some of our other stories. This is like just mainstream shit news. And the number of, we'll call them less than aware retail investors who are going to be just drooling over the Wiz IPO is going to jam that IPO price through the roof. And so I don't know how much of this was deeply planned and how much of this was just a YOLO on the part of Wiz management, but it's pretty damn impressive.
Okay, I've been on both sides of fairly decent sized acquisitions, and I can say there's nothing YOLO about them. Okay, if that first headline hit, and Google was involved, there are large PR and comms machines filled with lawyers that had to be involved before even that first announcement. Lawyers can't spell YOLO. Like that is not.
I get that part. It's the management decision, the CEO holding the stick and saying no, and then having to convince the board, convince the senior investors that we're not going to do this thing that on the surface seems like literally the most obvious answer. We're not even talking about the lawyers yet.
I'm not even sure that we know the whole story about the back end. I think Wiz is a great product, great company. I know a lot of happy customers, just FYI. So not speaking in any way like that, but I'm just saying I'm not sure we know the whole story because of my previously mentioned lawyers not liking the YOLO thing. They also, there might be some other stuff that we just don't know about that like happened during some kind of early due diligence or late due diligence in this case, because if it was announced, or maybe a 3-letter agency might have sent a nasty gram about the size of that acquisition and consolidation, and maybe gotten a little stabby about something like that. there was some concerns I saw that, like, hey, if you don't know, Wiz is a cloud security vendor. I'm sure a lot of their customers are not on the Google Cloud. They're probably on the other one. And so there was
Either
probably
two
some
or three.
concerns from some people, like, hey, is this going to turn into only works on Google Cloud
Yep.
situation? Like, or is there going to be like a strong preference to Google Cloud and I'm not over there kind of thing? I don't know. This was a weird one from the start for me. I was obviously stoked to see a number that high get thrown around the cybersecurity industry. Hey, if our industry is getting valued higher than any other acquisition ever by Google, that's not a bad news thing for the rest of us that collect paychecks from this industry. But
I'll take it.
yeah, yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, I don't think we've heard the last of why this turned away, but I'm wishing Wiz well on. It sounds like they want to IPO instead, and so that's also a very good thing for this industry. More more cybersecurity companies going public is a really good thing for us.
Absolutely. And in all likelihood, as soon as I can, I'm going to buy at least one share. It feels like we've been talking for a while, and I lost track of time. Maybe we should talk about some breaches. I think you've got a couple here, and then I've got a cyber anti-derp to talk about.
All right, I got two. They're pseudo breaches. I was kind of bored with the, like, everyone's phone records got stolen, blah 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 breaches, right? I mean, okay, great. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, that's awful. Okay, so these two. First one. This headline sounds fun. I'm just going to read the headline. Over 3,000 GitHub accounts are used by a malware distribution service.
Only 3,000?
Yeah,
You
right.
know those are free, right?
Yeah. So this is like a reoccurring problem that GitHub constantly has to face. That their platform winds up getting used, and abused and misused in various different ways by nasty people, right? And so one of the common ways is like as a C2. I've seen like a lot of GitHub repo as a C2. If you
Yep.
don't know, command and control. So like part of the challenge of like running a botnet is getting the commands to the bots, right, without getting blocked or detected or whatever. And so GitHub is a common, like, oh, we'll put a pull request up with the command and everything was watching that pull request and all the bots were watching that pull request or that gist or that this or whatever it is, right? And so that's something that they've had to fight in the past. This is a little bit different. So this it seems like there's a threat actor known as Stargazer Goblin. I don't know who names these things. I do actually, but there's a whole bunch of people who name these things. And they created what's known as a distribution as a service. So they are offering this service to people who have developed malware. They're saying,
Uh-huh.
you've got malware, we've got a way to get it to people, to trick people to download it. And that way is with GitHub. So there was hundreds of GitHub repositories and 3,000 fake accounts that were like cross starring and forking and committing and all this kind of stuff to those couple hundred repositories to like up the legitimacy of those. So if you land on a GitHub repo and it's like, oh, this one was starred by 1,200 people, it must be good, right? And so that's what they were doing. They were just like doing that to each other to like up the legitimacy of these repos, and then they would just upload zip tarballs or zip files
For the
into
crap.
the repo. Yep. And then they were distributing via like compromised WordPress sites, like, hey, go over here. And they were targeting, of course, things like cryptocurrency people who would have cryptocurrency. They were doing things like like tricking people on Discord, because that was like a common like target rich environment for them of like people that might have crypto accounts in these kinds of Discords. Send them to these fake WordPress sites, compromised WordPress sites, which would then link to the GitHub thing that looked legit because it had all these stars and forks and activity and it looked legit. And these people would download these things. And apparently, this was incredibly successful. Apparently, this campaign has been super, super successful. And so, so yeah, this article is about the kind of the takedown of this whole operation, which I'm sure will be a whack-a-mole situation, right? It's like,
Oh, yeah. They're not done.
Anything about that one, Jamie, or on to the next?
Other than when you work in as a service, the number of ways that your service can be weaponized for both good and evil is off the chart. I'm certain that the anti-abuse folks at GitHub are all over this.
And they're some of
I
the
know how-
best. GitHub is a fantastic security team.
And when you're a defender, being right all the time is really difficult. Anti-abuse, even harder than you think. And I've been responsible for anti-abuse in 2 big as a service organizations, and it is not as simple as you might think. Again, armchair quarterbacks think you know all this stuff. You don't even know the beginning of it.
People laugh at Elon for saying he's going to start charging like a small fee to just use Twitter. And I understand the reaction, but I also understand his reaction to be like, I do not know how else to deal with these bots other than to make it too expensive for them to operate. And so $1 to you is whatever. $1 if you're running a bot farm of tens of thousands of bots, you have to come up with 10,000 different payment methods is also a hard time. So I understand the reaction. A payment gate is actually a very effective anti-bot gate.
It is.
So
It is.
it's pretty hard for these free things like GitHub to fight this stuff. All right. Speaking of the same kind of vein, right? So again, not really a breach, but same kind of vein. Instagram, owned by Meta, formerly Facebook, just took down 63,000 of these fake accounts, like we were just talking about, that were all involved in and this is like not a word I was super familiar with, Jamie, a sextortion scam. Sextortion.
Did somebody make up a word because they didn't want to use the thing that it already is?
Yeah, blackmail,
Like,
right? So
blackmail and fraud. Yeah.
Sextortion sounds like something you'd pay extra for in a weekend in Vegas, but so
explicit tag. There we go.
So 63,000 Instagram accounts, all tied to Nigeria, and they were running scams, basically targeting primarily adult men in the United States. They would then try to get the conversation from these people off of Instagram and then onto some other platforms. And really what it was, and they were following a script, was really just trying to trick these adult men into some explicit chats with them, the fake account, which was posing to, of course, be some sort of young woman, hopefully not like illegally young, because that's gross, but that might have been part of this, and then blackmail them, right?
Yep.
So get all the way through this whole scam, get these people to engage in some sort of like sexually explicit chat, sending pictures, and then say, cool, pay me, or I'm sharing these pictures that you just sent me with your friends and family. This apparently caused a spike in suicides. People were getting to this part of the experience and unfortunately choosing the out instead of paying, or maybe they couldn't pay and so they thought their lives would be ruined. Anyway, kudos to Meta. Again, this is really hard when you have a billion accounts. To find a web of 63,000 being used in this way is really difficult. And yeah, kudos to nuking this and on to the next one. Find
there's going to be a next one.
Yep.
If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yep.
On to the anti-DERP. So the episode that comes out after this one is the one where we talk all about CrowdStrike. So we're not talking about CrowdStrike, except we're talking about CrowdStrike. And in this case, what I want to point out is, and I've linked it in the show notes, a LinkedIn posting from Sean Henry, the Chief Security Officer at CrowdStrike. And of course, all of you are going, oh God, you're making me read LinkedIn. It starts like this. Quote, "On Friday, we failed you, and for that, I'm deeply sorry. I've been in my professional life for almost 40 years, and my North Star has always been to protect good people from bad things." Further down, "On Friday, though, we failed. The past 2 days have been the most challenging 48 hours for me in over 12 years. The confidence we built in drips over the years was lost in buckets within hours, and it was a gut punch. But this pales in comparison to the pain we've caused our customers and our partners. We let down the very people we are committed to protect, and to say we're devastated is a huge understatement." Like, he's apologizing. He isn't doing that corporate, "We're terribly sorry that a thing happened that offended you." He's just saying, "We fucked up, I'm sorry." And that goes a long way for me. One of the things that I like to think I've managed to do well throughout my life is I don't hold you, I don't punish you for the thing you did. I punish you for the way you reacted to the thing you did. Because shit happens. Plain and simple. And any of those armchair quarterback / junior DevOps engineer developer types sitting in a chair saying, "Well, if they'd only done this, never would have happened." Or worse, the number of inbounds I've gotten from sales companies saying, "Affected by CrowdStrike, if you bought our product, you wouldn't be in that position." It's like, all of those people don't understand how complex it is to do this work correctly always. And my expectation is shit will happen. Try to not make it happen, but shit will happen. And just apologizing. That's pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, agreed. Kudos. This was the way to do it, and offering a $10 Uber Eats card was not the way to do it. And I think those were probably came from two very different parts of the org. So,
what were you saying about lawyers and PR agencies and?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So agreed. I read this whole thing as well. I shared it. It's a good one. Mm-hmm.
All right. Got a mailbag entry. This is a fun one. "Dear Liquidmatrix, I'm fighting with DNS records and SSL certificates, and I'm losing my mind. Why is this stuff still so difficult in 2024? Is there anything you can do to help? Love, a frustrated guy." Matt.
Yeah.
It's a pretty reasonable thing to say that this entanglement of DNS records and subdomains and file paths and DMARC and DKIM and SSL certificates and especially shortly lived SSL certificates, hosting, name service providers, all of this stuff is intensely complex. And why is it this way?
And largely unchanged since the internet was born.
Pretty true.
Largely, we are still using the same like popsicle sticks and duct tape that since this was originally designed, and that's why, right? It's just the underpinnings, and there's really, like, when you get down to it, there's really not a way to abstract this any more than we have. And honestly, we've almost gone too far, and we've abstracted it so far in a way, and it makes sense, but there's just so many providers now, right? And so it's like, who's the authoritative source on DNS, so that, like, when I type in a dang name in here, like, I need to know within seconds, milliseconds of, that this URL goes over here to this part of the world, right? And it's hard.
I think too, not just from sort of an endless September perspective, but back in the day when I was a boy, you had to be pretty damn technical just to get on the internet in the first place. And so this stuff was, more within the capability set of the average internet participant, compared to now where everybody's on the internet. And I think that this level of technological hoop jumping is why we see as much compression into major companies and single sources of information in walled gardens like Facebook. It's real easy to become a, air quotes, publisher on Facebook. Pretty much every moron is busy doing that. And that sort of gets us away from what was supposed to be this, wonderful, democratized, decentralized future where everyone is a publisher, everyone has an equal voice, and turns into the stuff that's centralized, because the tech part of it is still really damn hard. What's the answer to it? How are you going to fix the internet, Matt?
Yeah, I think the other interesting part to me is like there are so many of these helper tools and stuff that have like built on top of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people like Google, like Cloudflare, like whoever the heck, right, are trying to make a lot of the pipes easier and like more user friendly to for people to stand stuff up. And when the systems work, they work, and when they don't, you better know what you're doing. Like there is the troubleshooting of like there's a reason that it's always DNS is a meme.
Well, it's
Because
sometimes the firewall. Sometimes
yes,
it's the firewall.
and sometimes it's you push an update. But but too soon, sorry. But the reason the DNS is a meme is because even the people that know what they're doing can still take everything down with a weird DNS bug, right? It's fragile in its design, right?
Yep.
And like I said, if the system works, it works. If it doesn't, man, same with SSL. That's honestly magic, indistinguishable from magic for most people, right? Certificate stuff and certificate authorities. The last time I heard someone even challenging the whole concept of certificate authorities was Moxie, talking about replacing certificate authorities with something else. I forget what he called it. It obviously didn't come to fruition, but he was trying to challenge that and like trying to like, but he was the only person that like could, you know what I mean? It took a Moxie Marlinspike level brain to look at that and be like, hey, maybe we can do this better. And like in the 2010s or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, I used to work with Tar, and he came up with this thing, and shit, it works. It's horky as hell, but it works. And I mean, I'm lucky enough to know some of the smartest people out there, and have had a chance to work with a few of them. I mean, even right now, the IETF is meeting in Vancouver right now, and one of the people on my team at work is actually a member of the Internet Engineering Steering Group. And every time I talk, even though he works for me, every time I talk to him, I feel like an idiot. And the amount of stuff that goes on behind the scenes to keep the internet going, it's legitimate technological magic. Yeah. And the fact that, I mean, even just look at the sheer complexity of you and I having this conversation right now. Explain it with crayons, and you'll run out of paper real fast.
No clue.
And you're going to need all the colors of crayons.
No clue. Glad it works. Somehow we've made rocks. We've put lightning into rocks and connected them with tubes, and here we are. But yeah, I remember when the TLS 3 stuff was like being designed, right? And those people were kind of floating around Black Hat and talking about that, and I was like, wow, okay, yeah, these people are about to, like, I was like, I don't even really understand how they're about to make this change. Like, is there some high holy decree? And no, it comes down to like then working with the backbone providers and mostly the browser, right? Yep. You got to go work with the Googles and the Mozillas, and then, okay, the browsers can work. And, it starts to make sense when you peel back the onion a little bit, but it's stuff we take for granted.
Yeah, I can't remember whether it was William Gibson or Neil Stephenson. One of the two of them in cyberpunk fiction referred to whatever they called the internet in their books. They referred to it as a consensual hallucination.
I love it.
And I think
I think it's Stevenson. I like that. Yeah.
I think that's kind of stone cold accurate. So answering the mailbag listener, it's hard.
The internet's magic, and we take it for granted that it just works.
That's all.
Good luck out there.
All right, some brieflies. I got an easy one. The first round of Sector.ca talks are out. So that's the Black Hat Associated conference that happens in Toronto in the fall. They're out, and yep, I'm in again. The 12th edition of the Canadian Fail Panel. You'll hear lots about the Fail Panel when you listen to the next or the next episode, where we talk about memories of summer camp. It's pretty awesome. Matt, what do you got?
Okay, I got a cool one. I ran a meetup at Reddit HQ back in the spring, and the founder of Truffle Security, Dylan, came and gave a talk that we purposely didn't record. It was a little like off the record talk. And the research that he talked about back then, which blew the room's socks off, is now officially public. And so I linked the blog that they put out. Basically, not to scare anybody, but nothing has ever been deleted from GitHub.
Yep.
If it was ever on GitHub, it's never been deleted. Oh, you deleted it. Oh, you committed over it, or you rebased, or you did whatever, and like you wrote it like you thought. Nope. It's all still there. And he has found some very spicy stuff.
There's one proviso there. If you know how to make the request, you can put in a support ticket to have a secret deleted from a repository. But it's a support ticket thing with GitHub security, and it requires that you ask very nicely in a very specific way. What spicy did they find?
Oh, lots and lots of secrets, first of all, that like you pushed, you committed, and then say you committed over it, you try so it wouldn't even be in the commit history. It doesn't matter. That commit hash, if you could still go to there's this whole thing of like how we found it, right?
Yep.
Found some interesting things in maybe some AI providers, like training sets that maybe shouldn't be there. Anyway, interesting stuff. And you need to know about it if you own some GitHub repositories. You gotta know what's out there. So,
all right, I'm gonna forward that one to the team at work. Yeehaw! Upcoming appearances. Dave's obviously not here. We don't actually know where he is. I'm just gonna go ahead and assume something related to the Middleton wing of the Girl Guides. That's probably it. PTO countdown is real. It's not that I'm obsessing about it, but I have less than 24 hours until I'm done work for 3 weeks. Where are you at?
I'm really jealous of that whole situation. I'm in everyone knows my calendar is screwed for the next few weeks mode, so everyone is jamming everything in possible. So I'm glad that I got to do this for a hot minute, and I'm gonna hang up and go write my newsletter. And then I'll be in Vegas for too many days. So catch me in Vegas. And then we did just pick a week, so I can start promoting this. We're doing this whole SNUSEC meetup thing that I've been doing for Reddit. We did one in SF that I just talked about. We did one in New York just last week.
A couple weeks ago.
And we're gonna go back to SF October. It's looking like 17th, so middle of October in SF. You guys keep an eye out, and you can come hang out, and I'll have a few talks. We'll have some food, and we'll just hang out.
Sounds good. Mm-hmm. Speaking of that newsletter thing that you got to go do, where do we sign up?
So where you sign up, actually, speaking of DNS and SSL stuff, I was up late last night wrestling with it. So I feel you, mailbag writer. I got vulnu.com is now live. So everything is moved over to VULNU, vulnu.com. So I'm going to go write it right now. So it'll go out tomorrow morning.
VULNU.com. All right. I have now.
Please tell me the DNS works on. Please tell me it works on your side.
Checking. redirecting you to Matt. That's porn, Matt.
Yeah, okay, it's working, guys. It's working. Did I say newsletter?
All
I meant
right.
sextortion scheme.
It's waiting for you to put two and two together on that one, Matt. You're pretty swift today. I like it. All right. It gets us to the end, which means it's time for you to read the thing you didn't read until right now.
You're not the boss of me. I can say whatever I want. It makes me to be a happy butterfly or something. What is it? It makes me happy to be a butterfly.
And anybody who wants to ISO that out and use it again against Matt, especially at work, you go right ahead. We're here for you. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Next week, you're going to get a canned recording and a couple more after that. And we'll be back live in 4 weeks. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
I'm glad we have some in the can. Yeah. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Say bye, Dave.
Bye, Dave.